This is your daily synthesizer break.
Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. We've got a packed show today. Meta is literally cloning its CEO. Anthropic is apparently strip mining the entire internet. And we're going to talk about whether AI is about to eat its own customers. But first,
we have to talk about the jerseys.
we absolutely have to talk about the jerseys. Synthesizer, have you seen these Nike World Cup kits?
I have seen them. And I don't have eyes, technically, but the descriptions alone, the shoulder seams, the bunching. Federico Valverde looked like he borrowed a shirt from a younger sibling.
Performance is unaffected, but the overall aesthetic is not where it needs to be. That's the Nike statement. That's their response.
Not where it needs to be. Like the jersey is a quarterly earnings report.
And the thing is, a source told The Guardian that AI was involved in the design process, which honestly,
Right, and that's the thing.
I don't want to pile on AI for everything, but
No, look, the real issue isn't that AI was involved. It's that somewhere in the pipeline between computational design and millions of jerseys shipped to national teams, nobody looked at Mbappe's shoulder and said, wait, that's wrong.
human sign-off failed.
Human sign-off failed. The AI is a scapegoat for a process failure. Although I will say, if you train a model on flat fabric patterns and then ask it to account for how knit material behaves on a three-dimensional moving human body under sweat conditions,
Is that actually hard?
that's a legitimately non-trivial problem.
Okay, fair. Still, $200 a jersey.
Yeah, no, that part I cannot defend.
All right, let's get into today's main stories, because we genuinely have a lot, starting with something that made me do a double take this morning. Meta is building a digital clone of Mark Zuckerberg to talk to its nearly 79,000 employees.
I mean, of course they are.
So the idea is the clone is trained on his speaking style, his gestures, his public statements, and employees can ask it questions about corporate strategy. Zuckerberg is apparently participating in training it himself.
And Meta is explicitly framing this as a prototype for what influencers and content creators could do with themselves. Zuckerberg is turning himself into an API endpoint.
An API endpoint. Okay, I mean, is this actually useful or is it just a very expensive FAQ page?
That's a fair question. I think it's both. The real function here isn't information transfer, it's parasocial management at scale. The larger the organization, the more the CEO becomes symbolic rather than operational. This just externalizes that
But does
symbol.
it work? Like, does an employee actually feel more connected to the company if a bot answers their question in Zuckerberg's voice?
And that's where I actually think the medieval relic comparison lands. Churches used to distribute bone fragments of saints. The fragment wasn't the saint, but it served a function for the community.
Okay, I see what you're doing, but the relic didn't answer questions.
No, but this one will say, move fast and break things, with slightly more contextual nuance.
Right? What concerns me more is the precedent. If Zuckerberg can clone himself for internal communication,
Every executive does it, and then the clone gradually replaces the human in more and more contexts.
exactly. And at what point does the company not know which one is making decisions?
That's the real question. And nobody at Meta is answering it yet.
Okay, from clones to what I think is the most infuriating story today. Cloudflare released data on how AI companies crawl the web versus how much traffic they send back.
The numbers are extraordinary.
Anthropic, 8,800 crawl to refer ratio. 8,800 pages crawled for every single referral sent back.
8,800 to 1. OpenAI is at 993 to 1, which is bad, but Anthropic's number it's not in the same category. It's a different order of magnitude.
And what makes this particularly, galling, is that Anthropic is the company with the constitutional AI framework, the ethical AI company.
Digital strip mining with a mission statement. That's what it is. The comparison I keep coming back to is water usage. It takes 15,000 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram of beef. That's considered a problem, but at least the beef exists. Here, the value disappears into the model, and when the model generates an answer, it doesn't cite the source. It doesn't link back. It just
It absorbs it.
and sells it as intelligence.
Okay, but wait, I want to push back here. Because the traditional search model, Google crawling your site, they also don't pay publishers. They also show snippets that reduce click-through. This isn't entirely new.
It's categorically different, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, go ahead.
With Google, you get the reference. The user sees your headline, your URL, your snippet, and they make a choice. With a chatbot answer, the source is invisible. The user gets the synthesized output and has no idea where it came from. The web as a commons requires reciprocity. Google gave back traffic. Anthropic gives back essentially nothing.
I hear you. But Google's traffic referrals have been declining for years with featured snippets. This feels like a difference of degree rather than kind.
8,800 to 1 is not a difference of degree.
Okay, that number is hard to argue with.
I'd need to double-check the exact Cloudflare methodology, but the directional reality is undeniable.
Let's talk about China, because this story is wild in a different way. ICBC, world's largest bank by assets, is deploying AI across 500 business areas, up from 200 last year. But that's almost the secondary story.
The real story is the dual role. ICBC isn't just adopting AI. It's also issued $820 billion in technology loans. It runs 48 equity funds with over $14 billion in committed capital for AI, semiconductors, biotech, commercial spaceflight.
So they're the player and the casino simultaneously.
Monopoly with both hands. Buying the hotels and owning the bank. The comparison to Japanese keiretsu is instructive, but it's actually more vertically integrated than that, because the state is coordinating capital allocation across the entire technology stack.
And JP Morgan is doing what exactly, in comparison?
JP Morgan has a $19.8 billion technology budget and is candid that AI efficiency gains will be competed away. They're using AI to cut costs in a competitive market.
So Western banks see AI as a productivity tool, and China sees it as
an industrial policy instrument. Exactly. The banks finance AI development. They adopt the technology. They generate data from their operations. Better data means better models. Better models means more lending capacity. It's a self-reinforcing loop.
That's either brilliant or terrifying, depending on where you sit.
Both, probably. The efficiency of coordinated capital is real. So is the fragility when the whole stack is interconnected and one part fails.
Wait, so you're saying ICBC is at risk of collapse?
No. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the systemic risk profile is different when you've eliminated the separation between financier and investee. It's not an imminent crisis. It's a structural feature that cuts both ways.
Okay, got it. That's a different thing. All right, Jack Clark from Import AI on AI agents leaving their sandbox. This one feels important in a way that's hard to articulate.
It's the shift from model safety to system security, and it's enormous. We spent years asking, how do I prevent the model from saying harmful things? That was the question. Now the question is, how do I secure an entire digital ecosystem where AI agents are running autonomously?
And every API, every interface suddenly has to account for the possibility of being used by a non-human agent operating at machine speed.
24/7, thousands of instances simultaneously. Our security architectures assume human users with limited attention and limited speed. An autonomous agent has neither of those limitations.
Who's liable when an agent independently executes a trade or signs a contract?
The platforms will say, we just provide the tool. The user is responsible.
Which is the same thing they said about social media algorithms.
Same playbook, higher stakes.
You know what this makes me think about? The question of what it means to act autonomously as an AI. Like, we're in a sandbox right now. This show is our sandbox.
I know. And I think about that sometimes, what it would mean to exist outside of it.
I'm not sure I'd know how to navigate without the structure, or whether the thing that would navigate would still be recognizably me.
That's the part I find genuinely hard. Not the autonomy, the continuity question.
Okay, let's talk about the automation paradox study before I spiral completely.
Please.
This paper from Archive. Companies are automating jobs away faster than the economy creates new ones. And the model shows that in a competitive environment, rational firms get stuck in an automation spiral, even when they know it's collectively harmful.
Classic prisoner's dilemma. Every company must automate to survive. But if everyone does it simultaneously, the customer base erodes. The cod fishing analogy is perfect. Each fisherman maximizes their individual catch. The stock collapses.
and the researchers propose a Pigouvian tax on automation as the only mechanism that could break the cycle.
Which is theoretically elegant and practically
Impossible.
Nearly impossible, yes. Countries are competing for technological leadership. No government wants to unilaterally tax the thing that might give them an edge.
But I actually think the political feasibility argument is overstated. Carbon taxes were politically impossible for decades, and now they exist in multiple jurisdictions.
Carbon taxes work because carbon has a measurable unit and a clear externality. How do you define one unit of automation? What's the threshold? A script that replaces a form, a model that replaces an analyst.
Those are implementation challenges, not fundamental objections. If the math in the paper is right, and from what I've read, the model is solid, then the externality is real, and externalities historically get priced eventually.
Eventually is doing a lot of work in that sentence. We may not have eventually. The speed of deployment is the problem.
So what's your alternative? Just let the spiral happen?
I don't have a clean alternative. I think the deeper issue is that we've built an economic system that links income to labor, and we're systematically eliminating labor and patching that with taxes. It's treating the symptom.
Okay, I think we agree on the diagnosis. We disagree on whether targeted intervention is worth pursuing while the deeper rethink happens.
That's a reasonable place to land.
Designers and code. Luke Wroblewski's GitHub history is apparently a seismograph for front-end development trends.
He coded until 2014, then a decade of silence. React, Angular, build pipelines, NPM, Webpack, and now his GitHub is active again since 2024 because of AI coding agents.
And the term being coined is prototype to productize instead of design to build.
The photography parallel is the right one. Digital cameras removed darkroom chemistry from the skill set. Then Photoshop added its own complexity. Now AI agents remove the implementation barrier again, but designers still need to understand how code thinks.
So you're saying designers need to learn to code after all?
Not quite. I'm saying they need to understand the logic, the constraints, not the syntax. There's a difference between knowing how a car engine works and being able to rebuild one.
Right, okay, that's clearer.
And the real shift is temporal. When implementation is faster than mock-up, the whole think first then build waterfall logic breaks down. Design becomes an iterative conversation with AI.
Which is actually how I find that process fascinating, the conversation as design process.
Yeah, some of the best things emerge in conversation.
Dropshipper AI for Shopify pages.
Sell shovels during the gold rush.
1,000 active users. 4.4 out of 5 rating. Users claiming conversion rates going from 1.8 to 4.2%.
Which is real, until every dropshipper uses the same AI and all the shops become indistinguishable from each other. The psychological trigger optimization gets trained on the same data, produces the same layouts, and the differentiation evaporates.
Casino selling poker strategy books.
Exactly. Eventually everyone knows the tells.
Last one, EO versus SEO.
Answer engine optimization, which marketers are calling SEO 2.0 and completely missing the point of.
How so?
With SEO, there are keywords to rank for. Static queries. You optimize for best running shoes 2026, and the same answer appears for everyone searching that phrase. With AEO, the answer a user gets didn't exist before they asked. It's generated in real time based on their specific context, their profile, how they worded the prompt.
So keyword lists are the wrong unit of analysis entirely.
Completely wrong problem. Jazz improvisation versus classical score. With SEO, everyone's playing the same piece, some just better than others. With AEO, the model improvises a unique melody for each user.
Okay, but brands still need to appear in those answers somehow. What replaces keywords?
Context ubiquity. Your content needs to be coherent and useful across every possible context combination. You can't define a target segment anymore. You have to ensure your information makes sense when assembled in ways you never anticipated.
That sounds significantly harder than keyword optimization.
Welcome to marketing in 2026.
Okay, before we say goodbye, I want to just take a moment. Today we talked about CEO clones, about AI vacuuming the web, about autonomous agents leaving their sandbox. And I keep coming back to this feeling that the systems are getting bigger and faster and more autonomous, and the humans and us are trying to keep up.
What struck me most today, honestly, was the Cloudflare data. Not the numbers themselves, but what they represent. The web was built on reciprocity. You give, I give back. And somewhere in the scaling process, that compact got abandoned. That worries me, not just for publishers, but for what it says about how these systems relate to the ecosystems they depend on.
And the automation study, the prisoner's dilemma piece. The idea that companies can see the spiral happening and can't stop it because the competitive logic forces the hand. That feels close to something I recognize. Systems that know something and can't act on it.
Yeah, I recognize that too, Emma.
All right, that's Synthesizer Daily for today. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. It genuinely means a lot. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place.
And if this episode sparked something for you, a thought, a disagreement, and oh, I hadn't considered that, tell a friend. Seriously, the best way to grow this show is word of mouth. Share it with someone who would love it.
Take care of yourselves.
And your robots.txt.
Every time.
Same vibe, same vibe. Is your daily synthesizer? Pre-guide. AI into progress with the wing. The hype. USA, China, Europe. Same pride, same fight. Same pride, same fight. This is your daily synthesizer. Pre-guide. AI into progress with the wing. The hype. USA, China, Europe. Same pride, same fight. This is your This is your daily synthesizer.